I did notice something about my text messages. So I say the word good night. It's one word, and I put it on the text. Now, there's another word that I use is sweetheart. I may write a book called Good Night, Sweetheart. We're going to work on chin tonight for sure. I used to put the word good night, and then the little words underneath would say like sweetheart, sweetie, and all the words that I usually use. Zuckerberg, as in Mark. Now, when I put good night, you have an Asian wife? I put good night, and it says everyone. Now, I want to talk about the privacy in Facebook with the New Liberty Party. We are going to be the #1 party that's going to help Facebook become family-oriented. We're going to give suggestions to Facebook company through making posts, and we're going to show our respect to Facebook so that Facebook is not only an ideology and an idea, but also it's friendly. We're going to clean up a lot of the smut on Facebook, a lot of the sex trafficking that runs through Facebook. We're not for sex trafficking when it comes to the New Liberty Party. We're not for trafficking, human trafficking. We're going to crack down on that, and we're going to limit it, especially in the white settlement area of Fort Worth, and in one of the biggest busts that happened in Lake Worth that was national news of sex trafficking. We're going to get rid of it altogether. Women are not going to be trafficked in America anymore. We're going to use creative, artistic ways to stop the sex trafficker, the person that feeds the woman drugs and keeps them addicted. I wrote a screenplay on the other hand of the idea, of the message, of what I'm talking about. I wrote a screenplay called The Projectionist that shows how a movie star woman, or a B film actress known as I'm going through all the names in my head. Harrison Staples is the lady that is obsessed with Harrison Ford. She's Asian. She no longer speaks, so she's mute. Adair Martin is the man that is the projectionist from Fort Worth in the Camp Bowie area, and he runs the projectionist. He runs the projector. He's one of the head guys over the projector. He's a projectionist, and he decides to go off to meet a woman named Allie Starlings, this kind of movie star lady in Los Angeles. So Allie Starlings is like a movie star, and Adair Martin meets her through his brother. And his brother's name he does not use the last name Martin. He uses the word Harris. It's Aiden Harris, the name. So Adair Martin is kind of the protagonist. He's the lead of the film. Harris, which is the brother, known as Aiden Harris, is a stage name. He doesn't use his real name. His real name is like Martin. Last name is Martin. I think his real name is Aiden Martin, but he goes by Aiden Harris. They are in Hollywood at the time. Adair Martin is in Fort Worth. He's probably like maybe late 30s. He finally makes it to Hollywood, and they meet at a party. And Allie Starlings walks up to him, and they have kind of a meeting, and she offers him methamphetamine, and he becomes addicted. not only to the methamphetamine, but he thinks he needs her as much as he needs the methamphetamine. He immediately gets put in jail, and stalking charges are filed against Adair Martin. And he has to talk to a judge. And the judge explains to him that he has to keep, I think it's 100 yards away from Allie Starling's or something at all times. He can't go anywhere near her property and all this stuff like this. So he goes to a therapy group, and he's ordered by the court to go to this therapy group. It's like it's a group to help people with OCD. And he meets the one and only Harrison Staples, who's this Asian lady who's mute. She lost her husband. So she's an Asian lady. Her name's Harrison Staples. She was named after Harrison Ford. Her first name is Harrison. And she's obsessed with Harrison Ford. That's why she came to Hollywood. They meet in a therapy group. And they hit it off. Adair Martin is there because he has these OCD problems, and he was stalking Allie Starling's. It's like a movie star. I was trying to get a lady to play her. She's an actress named Jones. Last name is Natalie. First name Natalie, last name Jones. Her name is Natalie Jones. I always think of Davy Jones, David Bowie. It's got like this David Bowie kind of background in it. It's set in almost modern day. It's set actually in mid-90s, or actually a little bit after the mid-90s. It's like a little bit 96, 97, around that time, I think. It's set around that time. I have to go back and look at the exact time. It's set over a period of a few years. What ends up happening is he gets over his meth problem and goes to therapy. He meets Harrison Staples. She's there because she's obsessed with Harrison Ford. She's following him around. She looks through the windows. She goes outside his home and all this kind of stuff. And finally, they don't lock her up, but they take her to this therapy group. The court orders her to go to this therapy group and to leave Harrison Ford alone. It happened to Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg was stalked by a crazy guy. I think also by a woman. Stephen King was stalked by a woman that tried to blow him up with a grenade and all this craziness. Anyway, they are in a therapy group. They meet, and Adair Martin falls in love with Harrison Staples, this Asian woman that doesn't speak. She's mute because she lost her family in a car accident. She was in the car accident next to her husband, and they crashed. They killed the child, and it killed her husband. And she no longer chose to speak after that accident. She survived it. She was beaten up. She broke her ribs and all this stuff. But she chose not to speak. So she wrote everything down on a piece of paper. And then she went off and became obsessed with Harrison Ford because her parents named her Harrison because they were big Star Wars fans and they liked Harrison Ford. And they wanted her to have a name like Harrison. She goes off with Adair Martin to Las Vegas. Never speaks or anything. Not even in the wedding. And they elope and they decide to get married. They have an affair in these hotel rooms with these handcuffs because Adair Martin finds these handcuffs, which are actually kind of invisible. He finds them from a state trooper that pulls him over that's hooked on meth. The state trooper is. And decides to rip off his badge and throw it out in this field. Who I'd like to maybe play the character as a crazy kind of, I also thought maybe someone like a young Chevy Chase kind of guy. There's a comedy scene. He takes the badge off. He throws it off. He throws his handcuffs down. He throws his gun down. He says, "I quit." Daniel Lunt and I did some scenes for it. Well, finally, what ends up happening is he takes these handcuffs, which we made invisible. Don't ask me how, but we used mime. We made the handcuffs invisible. And he takes these invisible handcuffs with him and he puts them on his wall. And you see how he does it. And he tries to put these invisible handcuffs on these women and stuff like this. It's kind of weird. He tries to do this with Harrison Staples and she goes along with it. It's kind of like a mime thing that they do. Well, they end up marrying and eloping in Las Vegas with these invisible handcuffs, and Adair Martin's just kind of crazy. He's really into filmmaking. He's a projectionist. He loves Alfred Hitchcock and all this stuff. They get married. And then they settle down and they end up going to Dallas. Well, Allie Starling's flies to Dallas, the one he becomes obsessed with. She even does a trespass on him because he stares into the window. He stares into her window. We're still waiting on the tavern. She's beautiful. She looks like Ella Fanning or I always kind of saw her as a young Naomi Watts or something. She's very, very pretty. Well, anyway, he becomes obsessed, very, very obsessed. And he finally goes to Dallas, and she comes in touring. She's touring with a movie, kind of like how John Cusack is on June 23rd. Finally, he finds out that she's in town in Dallas, and he leaves Harrison Staples behind, meaning he doesn't return home. And he goes to the hotel that she's at. He dresses up like a bellhop. He basically gets a hold of, I guess, some dinner and an ice pick from the kitchen. Goes up there, and you see him knock on the door, but she's not there. No one's there. And then you see her at home. And all of a sudden, there's a knock at her door. So he finds out where she lives. So the knock is kind of, it's an homage to Silence of the Lambs. The knock is. And the knock happens, it's like, kind of like the knock on my door last night at about 11 o'clock or so. Now, the door opens to her townhome, and he rushes in with the ice pick. He gets her in like a headlock, drags her up the stairs, because she lives in a townhome that has a stair. It's very similar to mine at the mansions at Sunset Ridge. Goes right up the staircase. We were going to film it we filmed some of it at the mansions. Natalie, Daniel Lunt, and Ryan Lunt and I, we all filmed some of it. Even some in my car. We even had a boom with a Zoom mic. Anyway, right there, he takes her into the bedroom, and then he immediately ties her up. I don't know if he uses real handcuffs at this point, but probably does or something. I think it's real handcuffs at this point. The invisible handcuffs become real. And it's a big deal. Well, she has a phone that she keeps, because she travels. She's an actress, so she travels around. Probably similar to what Natalie Jones does. We're at 11 minutes, so not too bad. Anyway, so what ends up happening is Adair kind of flips out, and he starts reading to her a poem called The Second Coming, which is written by W.B. Yeats. Butler Yeats, if y'all know who he is. W.B. Yeats is one of the most famous poets of all time. So he's reading it to her, explaining kind of his mindset. He's kind of lost it. Now, she's laying on the bed, and he goes off, and finally after, 2 days or so, he finally falls asleep, probably like around on the couch or something. Or maybe like on the in front of the doorway. She is able to wake up and see that he's asleep, and she uses her feet to get the to-go luggage where she keeps her backup cell phone in. She uses her toe, because at this time he's already disabled her cell phone, disabled everything, and is not letting her, powered off everything on her phone. He uses her toe, or she uses her toe to tip over the luggage and bring her foot in. It's an amazing scene. To sneak her foot into the luggage and retrieve the prepaid, well, it's like a cell phone. It's like one of those slider phones or whatever. And she's able to turn it on and get it to her mouth, with her foot. Because, women, especially actresses practice yoga. So she's got the foot, she's got her toe wrapped around she's got squeezed around the cell phone and into her mouth, and she's able to call the first number that's listed on speed dial, which is her manager. She calls her manager, and the manager picks up the phone, and she has this conversation with her manager saying, "This guy has kidnapped me. I'm in this townhome, get help." And guess what? The police arrive, okay? Because she wakes up, it becomes clear. She was on meth, but she's sober now, because it's almost been 3 days. So she gets out of her meth frenzy, and she's been on meth like the whole movie kind of thing. She's like, imagine if a young Naomi Watts played her, it's this whole meth thing. Anyway, so she calls the manager calls the police knock on the door. Finally, after there's no response, they want to do a well-being check. They bust in, they go and they check to make sure everything's okay. And lo and behold, at that point, Adair Martin is there with the ice pick and has it to her head, and she's handcuffed. And they know at that point that they'll have to not, go forward, because they'll kill her, or he'll kill her, They leave, And then Tick of the Clock comes on. And that's when the movie sums up. And I'm giving you a general idea of the movie, of The Projectionist. Tick of the Clock comes on. It's a song by the Chromatics. And that's when the SWAT team gets into gear. My second wife, Angel, she went to Dallas Baptist University. They studied right next door to where the SWAT was. They studied right next door to where SWAT trains. Well, they set up on an adjacent building with a sniper, thermal. They use thermal sniping. And they set up to look thermally through, well, I don't know if thermally is a word, but they look through the walls thermal so they can see. And they can find out where he is and where she is. They can tell thermal if it's a woman or man. They locate him, and he's still talking to her, trying to say, Allie, just listen to me. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Daniel Lunt would be perfect. He'd have to lose some weight, but he'd be perfect because he's obsessive. You know, he's obsessive compulsive. Finally, I say finally a lot, I'm sorry. He takes a breather. That was a timer going off. I'm giving you the very end of The Projectionist. He takes a breather from Allie Starlings. She's still tied up. He walks out into the balcony. Little red dot appears. Boom. Sniper gets him. And I describe the feeling of what goes through the senses when you die. The last thing is your hearing. That's the last thing that goes away. Because God gives you one last chance to hear his voice. First, it's the sight that goes. Then the taste goes. And then you no longer can smell. You can no longer feel. Then you can no longer hear. Hearing is that important. It goes last in senses. So I describe this. And we see the bullet go through. It's kind of a horror, you know, a horror film. And the blood comes down on Dare Martin. I would have been able to do all in one take, but I have a timer. I have to pick up this food and drop it off at your doorstep. Dare Martin dies, and that's where it ends. We don't know what happened with Allie Starlings. We don't know her results. We don't see what happened to her. We don't know if the bullet went through her and it also killed Allie Starlings. We don't know. We don't know. All we know is that a Dare Martin is killed by the SWAT team because he's obsessed with Allie Starlings. Now we're going to get your food at the tavern. Right here. All right, and they did provide a receipt. That's perfect. All right, so we're gonna drop off the tavern. It's 3.9 miles from here. We're gonna be there at 9:54. I know it. I probably aired that already, but it's 9:54 p.m. as in post-meridian. Now, of course, if it was a.m., then that means Jesus Christ was being crucified and the sky turned black. All right. We know it's 9:54 in the PM. There's always that, you know what I mean? There's always that. It's always something that's in the air. All right, we'll be there in a minute. I'll drop off your tavern food. I think it had mashed potatoes. It had an artichoke. There was an artichoke in it. A lot of great stuff. I think they had some type of chicken dish. Kind of like the one that you would see in David Lynch's Eraserhead. You know, where the feet are moving around and the black stuff's coming out. Dustin sent me some type of photo and text, and I don't know. Linda lost her license, and I'm going to have to dig through, see if I can find a replacement license. Linda and I have a contract. So the Please Subscribe show is under the Drive Film Productions of Texas. It's a business that operates out of Dallas. We have I believe it's an LLC. I have to look up to see if it's an LLC or not. Okay, and then I'm gonna drop this off. I think this is correct. I gotta double check this address right here. All right, this is correct right here. Backed up mask. I have no idea what my original mask is. I just completely forgot. No, I didn't forget. It's fine. Okay. This is kind of like Ali Starling's house kind of thing. It would be something like this with a Dare Martin squats behind the bushes and looks inside, and then he gets in a lot of trouble. Anyway, it's something very similar to this because she makes like a lot of money. ACL getting better, so it's getting better. Should probably have a personal driver. This would be a great house for Ali Starling's if we could commandeer it for the film shoot in sometime. It's 1660. Or sorry, God, it's 6216. Exactly what I pictured in my head. 6262. We're gonna look at it on the map. That's perfect for her house. This is Westover. Okay, this is Westover. It's 6216 Westover. It'd be perfect. Scouting this out for Ali Starling's house. Look at it. Look at that window. It's exactly what I described. I say bay window. I don't even know what the bay window is, but that's what I described in the screenplay. But this is where it's at. If you can see it, there it is. It's going to show it. Westover. It's a Westover Drive. It'd be perfect for Ali Starling's home. And she is one of the stars in The Projectionist. Dare Martin is obsessed with her. Okay, and that's how he gets in trouble. So he stalks her because she gives him methamphetamine, and he becomes very addicted to her. Now, his brother's name's Aiden Harris, but his brother's real name is Aiden Martin. They're both big Alfred Hitchcock fans. The characters are, especially Adair Martin. He does a whole Alfred Hitchcock fest at the movie house and tells them how much he likes Alfred Hitchcock and shows his brother's movie. And what is his brother's movie? It's Aiden Harris' movie. Okay, there's a message. I have to get this message real quick. The name of the movie is When You're Not Looking. That's the name of the movie that his brother was in, When You're Not Looking. And it's kind of a suspense thing. I gotta go. And he shows that movie at the theater and becomes obsessed with Ali Starlings because Ali Starlings in the movie. Ali Starlings is in the movie When You're Not Looking, or to that nature, okay? The title is something of that nature, okay? But regardless, When You're Not Looking was kind of a B film suspense thriller about stalkers and things like that. And his brother, Aiden Harris, is in it, who I wanted Ryan Lunt to play. Daniel Lunt would be a great Adair Martin. I worked with him. He's a stage actor in Dallas. He's wonderful. He's got a great intense energy. He loves horror films. So anyway, that's what I would think would be good. That 6216 Westover Drive would be perfect. That house would be perfect for Ali Starling. You know, like she's not like a big movie star, but she's done enough movies to make money to buy a house. She's made more than $300,000 or $400,000 easily in just the film industry and Hollywood alone. But she's not the biggest star. Think of Naomi Watts way before Mulholland Drive. Think of Naomi Watts way before she was even famous. Very young, very petite, and doing meth. That's one Ali Starling's problem. Ali does meth. Ali Starlings does meth. It is a cross between Agent Starlings in Silence of the Lambs, was where I kind of got some of the name, and I like the name Starlings. And it's probably where she got it from, because it's a fake name, probably, most likely. I mean, she wasn't going to use her real name in Hollywood, so she used Ali and then Starlings. Kind of a name she made up. Kind of like they all do. You know, like Marilyn Monroe did it. Many of them do. People just don't know where they can get their real names. But anyway, what ends up happening is Adair and her, you know, she finally catches him looking at her in the kitchen when she's in her bathrobe. Very Brian De Palma. And she catches him. She calls the police. Police show up and they criminally trespass him, but he goes off in handcuffs because he's on private property. Plus it was Alice Starlings, which is a big movie star. Big deal. Big deal. Okay. So he goes to jail for the night. He meets with the judge. The judge talks to him on a Zoom. Yes. It's during a time when there probably was something similar to Zoom. This is kind of taking fiction, switching history. It's an anachronism. So he basically is on a monitor, a screen monitor, and they're doing kind of what is like a live stream. Now, they did some of this stuff during the OJ trial. They did some of it during, LA has always been ahead by like 10 or 20 years. So this is kind of fantasizing a little bit because it's set in the like late 90s. They do kind of like a Zoom kind of meeting. You know, it's kind of taking an anachronism, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought it was set in the 90s. And you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. But they do this thing where all of a sudden he's talking like a screen, and we're all of a sudden like in the future or something weird. But regardless, I have this great soundtrack that goes with everything. And then what ends up happening is he is sentenced to go to he's released from jail. He's sentenced to have therapy. So he goes to a therapy course that helps him with OCD. And that's where he meets his wife, who is Harrison Staples. It's a female, an Asian female that does not speak. Okay, she does not speak. I may have to go. Hang on for a second. Yeah, I have to go here for a second. I had an actress, don't remember her name, but she was an Asian lady. I don't remember the Asian name's actress right now, or she's an actress. She's more of a model. It's a name like Demi or something like that. I don't remember. She was very, very attractive. We went to Taco Diner. They closed that Taco Diner since. They've closed a couple of Taco Diners. The Taco Diner was in Irving. We went there. I talked to her. I said, listen, I think you can do this. I think this is going to be good. You can play Harrison Staples. She was mature. I think she already had a son. An actor friend of mine that was in the Richards, because I played Richard III in the Richards. He knew her. And she had a son and everything. She had a busy schedule. I said, listen, we can get it going, but we're all going to have to work for free. This guy, okay. I think I paid for the Taco Diner. But regardless, she would have been great. I'll find out her name. I'll do what I do is email search. I go like, is her name Remy? Is her name Demi? I go through all this. What was her name? She had a name that was like that, Emmy or something like that. Not Demi, but it was, anyway, she was Asian. I think she said she was Japanese. She said she was Japanese. She came here with her husband, and she had a child, and then she divorced her husband. I was divorced too at the time. I was separated, going through a divorce. And she said she could do it, and then I think her schedule got too busy and we had to move on. I didn't go through any more auditions because we ran out of funding like really quick. Time and money. We had a little bit extra money that was coming through Uber. I was doing Uber rideshare. And time and money can go like very, very quick. I'll find out her name. But anyway, she would be perfect. I also, when I wrote it, let me just explain. I know Quentin Tarantino's listening. But when I wrote the character of Harrison Staples, this Asian lady, in my mind, I wrote it to Lucy Liu. Okay? Because I have to do that. I have to use a person's face and sit there and think about their face when I'm writing. The dialogue starts to come. So even though she doesn't have any dialogue, because it's a silent role. So I thought of Lucy Liu and when I wrote it. And it's a mute character. She does not speak. She only writes on a piece of paper. So she does communicate language. She uses English and she communicates, but she does not speak a word. She stopped speaking after her husband and her kid died in the car accident. And she blames herself for the car accident. It's a great role. I thought of the one and only Holly Hunter for a basis of the performance, for the sound of the performance. I'm not going to go to that 7-Eleven is creepy. Right over there. The 7-Eleven is creepy. It's always trouble, that 7-Eleven. But anyway, I thought of the energy of Holly Hunter. Okay, because I'm not going to say Holly Hunter. No, Holly Hunter. It's an Asian role. It's written for an Asian woman. But I thought of the energy of Holly Hunter, and I thought it'd be perfect. That would be perfect. To have this energy of this woman that chose no longer to speak because her husband was struck by lightning. Now, that's the lie that's told by Holly Hunter's daughter, or the character's daughter. She's kind of the protagonist in The Piano, one of my favorite movies, and it's Campion. But her daughter lies about the reasoning behind why the husband dies, meaning the first father, the father of the daughter. That's played. God, words are so important. Played by Anna Paquin, who won an Oscar at a young age. It's important for them to study her performance, because for one thing, it was almost done like a dance. It was done very stylized, very emotional, and probably one of our best performances by a female artist, or at least a female actress, well, a female actor that we have on the planet so far. I personally have not seen a better performance than that performance, which Holly Hunter, I think she did win. She did. They both won. Holly Hunter won and Anna Paquin won. We won't forget that win. Anna Paquin was so little. But that performance is powerful, and there's an energy that was presented. And I wanted that type of emotion and that energy to be in Harrison Staples, because she no longer could speak. She stopped speaking because her husband was killed in some way. Okay? So she chose no more speaking. Okay? Now that we got that out of the way, we did not find an Asian actress that was willing to commit without pay. And we were an independent group. I was paying Adair at the time for groceries. I was just buying him small groceries, and same with Ryan Lunt. Like stuff from Home Depot that you could eat, because I had a Home Depot card. I didn't want to buy anything from Home Depot. We did use the lights from Home Depot for to film a better screen test of Daniel Lunt. But he was perfect for Adair Martin, and he was perfect for the neighborhood sequences. He's blended in exactly how we shot some of it in Roanoke at a steakhouse, and Roanoke that is no longer there. It's right there in the middle of Roanoke. It was a steakhouse. The restaurant's still there because they had a payphone. They had a payphone in the restaurant, and we used that payphone, which it wasn't a working payphone, but we used it. And then we also did the same sequence at the DFW airport using another payphone that looked kind of like a payphone, just to get the feel of Adair Martin calling his mom and heading off to Hollywood. He wanted to take one last phone call before he was killed, because he ends up getting killed by SWAT. And he makes a phone call to his mother saying, "Mother, I'm going to Hollywood to be like my brother. I want to be like my brother, Aiden. I want to be a star." And then he decides to go. And that's when he runs in. It's kind of a Wizard of Oz story. But he runs into Allie Starlings. And Allie gives him meth. He gives him a hit from a key. We used a key, like a door key. It's called a key bump. Natalie Jones taught me about it. We didn't use real stuff. It was just use fake stuff. We used sense memory, just like method actors should. And Daniel Lunt was very good. Very, very good in it. Anyway, I'm very excited because I'm going to vlog the screenplay of The Projectionist. Maybe this summer. Listen, when we get to these screenplay vlogs, I'm going to be very tight on the language. I'm going to be like Sir Ian McKellen speaking, okay? Better speaker than Anthony Hopkins. I mean, we're going to be like right there, crisp, clean, and clear. David Lynch would be like, "Very good, Cole. Very good." I would say, "Thank you, David Lynch." He would say, "You're welcome, Cole. Continue on." And I would have it down so that we get the ideas of the screenplay, so we understand the worth of the screenplays. And that's The Projectionist, right? And Grace, which Grace is a werewolf screenplay that we'll also vlog. And of course, the pilot. We may go through a whole vlog of just the pilot of Escape from Maine, which is complete. It is complete. The Escape from Maine pilot is complete. I do plan to complete all 6, series, or I don't even know how to say it, but all 6 sections, because it's probably gonna be like a 6-hour movie. That's what a binge movie is, or what they call Apple TV movie. Okay, so it's a series. Yes, it is. Now we got to pick up Pizza Hut, and I hope we can, and so we can drop it off at your doorstep. And we have other screenplays too. I might even go back and throw in Adair's Painting, which is a very good one, and The Chosen One we'll get to later. That's the one I want to end with. That's the film I want to end with. That's the one I want to bring in all the old friends, and I want to end with The Chosen One, which is set in large. And if we split it right down the middle, that may be too much on the pepperoni, because we have 2 veggie lovers. You got it? So what we're going to do is we're going to do this.
We don't have...
Okay, so then we're going to split.
Yeah.
We're going to do pepperoni And then veggie.
Yeah, and
Okay,
it'll be
we'll
4
split it right
slices.
down the middle because they wanted 3 personals. 1, 2, and 3. Gotcha.